Hello and welcome to True Guidance Tarot. I'm Adriana Teodoro-Dier. I'm a spiritual medium and intuitive reader, your personal guide to a clearer perspective. I've got a message for Aries today, and Aries, this is your beneficial message from the universe. This is a channeled message from Spirit and from my guides. And if the specifics don't necessarily speak to you, there's a message in it for you. So let's go ahead and start. We have the Death card first. Like, great, lovely way to start the week. This is the energy from the universe that you're being asked to confront or to look at this week. And I feel with this Death card, we're really talking about a space, trying to create a space for something new to come in. Cutting away the old is kind of a cliche, but it's that idea. If there isn't space yet for something new in your psyche, in your life, in your outlook, it's likely there's not any room for it. And so if you haven't been seeing what you've been expecting, then this is about taking the time to cut out whatever it is that you need to cut out, because this card tells me that a door wants to open for you. A new direction wants to open for you, and a new way of being for some. That this is ready. It's on the threshold. It's waiting. And what's needed now from you is your willingness to create the space for it. Now, we get the Seven of Swords next for the way that you respond to this energy. And so I feel like you invite this energy in a little bit. See how these background colors are kind of talking to each other. You invite this energy in, but it stops at a certain place. It's like the processing is so mental that it doesn't really get through your body. It's not released out through there. It's almost like you're trying to figure it out, and you're trying to figure out literally what you need to do to make this happen. And so it's possible that even in the span of this reading, I've said this to you and your mind is triggered and you're going, okay, was it this? Is it that? What do I need to do? How can I sort this out? How can I cut that out? And this is a lot of mental activity, but not a lot of action. It's not a lot of actual movement, and it's actually a lack of direction. This card tends to just churn. It's the mind churning. It like on a hamster wheel. You're running on a little hamster wheel and not actually getting anywhere. So let's continue with our story, because the mental activity is not the answer in this case. Although, sometimes Aries, that is the answer for you, but not this week. Eight of Cups going into the Lovers and ending in the Judgment card, the Rebirth card. Now there is a lot of hope. And there is a lot of positive energy in this section of the message. This was a little bit darker for me, feels darker, heavier, and possibly a little bit of sadness, a little more sad. But this one, good. So let's talk through it. We've got the Eight of Cups, and it's like you need a breath of fresh air. You need to get yourself out to a different perspective. If this was a movie, like literally he's holed up in his room and finally he just gets fed up and he leaves and goes for a walk. And so energetically, that's what you're being asked to do. Get out of your space that you've been inhabiting. Leave that hamster wheel. Get out of that cage and take time to find a different perspective. So this might be literally as simple as when you can't get anywhere, when this isn't helping you, just go take a walk, drop it all and just leave it. But I feel like these cards are talking about something a little bit more deep and profound than just that. This is you actually understanding that you have to go through those emotions in order to release them. This activity is keeping you from your emotions. And I think there may be a fear. When the Death card shows up, sometimes we feel fear, but there's a fear associated with letting go of whatever it is that you're being asked to let go of. This card says to me that when you finally allow that emotional release to happen, and you finally kind of admit to yourself that, you know what, this has to go, and I'm going to let whatever emotions come up, whether it's grief or sadness or regret, I'm going to let them come up. That's step one. Step two is that you realize that it's all right to leave those emotions behind, because those emotions are about the past. They're not about the future. And so once you make that switch, once you allow yourself to go into the emotions, but then you come out the other side and say, you know what? Okay, I'm done. We were done. That was about my past. Those emotions were about my feelings, judgments, and thoughts about the past. I'm ready to move on into the future. You get up the hill, and I just love this card with all of those healing colors back there. He gets up that hill to a higher perspective, and he encounters the lovers, which is the confirmation from the universe that you've made the right choice. There's a new day dawning. I know there's some action going on here, but I'm focusing on this little doe in the background and these flowers up here. You've made the right choice out of love for yourself to leave this behind and to really walk up and get yourself to a better place, a higher place. And now you're like, everything is new. This relationship here is new that we're seeing. That doe back there is new. You've got some kind of awakening happening, some kind of opening happening. And then we have rebirth, the rebirth of yourself, and the rebirth, the chance to begin anew. And remember that space I was talking about in the beginning, that there's something coming in and you're standing at the threshold. Here we are at the doorway. Look, I mean, it's a doorway. It's literally a doorway. And it's the new old self. This is a funny figure because it's at once a child and an old soul. So it's not like literally the birth of a child. Like some cards talk about the birth of a child, but the soul is ancient and timeless, and yet in time, because we're in the world right now. So your soul is much older than we are right now, you know, in our chronological age. So this is talking about the rebirth of the soul. So that space you're making room for is actually a different incarnation of your soul. So, you know, what does this actually mean in practical 3D reality? It means that this is a time for a new outlook, a new persona, a new way forward, a new identity, and a new way of behaving that separates you from things that triggered or held you down in the past. That's what we were asking to die. And that was really what was happening. Now, the beauty of this reading is that you don't really have to do these two cards. They happen for you. What you have to do is this card here, allowing the emotions to come up so that you can process them through and then say goodbye to them. That's all you have to do. Your last card, your last amazing card for the day, High Priestess. So Aries, you guys are knocking it out of the park because you have some of my favorite cards in this whole deck. This High Priestess tells you there's something bigger happening. There's two halves coming together, whether it's the soul and the ego, the collective and the individual. There's two halves coming together. And this time is about welcoming that shift, welcoming that change, and welcoming the wisdom that comes along with this change. This card says that you don't have to know everything. Remember how I said this is these two cards happen for you? This is about letting that happen. You don't have to know. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to understand or monitor or keep track of all of these changes that are happening. You don't need this energy, right? You need to just allow it, welcome it, and let it happen. Let it move through. And understand that when you cut off any cobwebs, when you cut off anything that is dirty, like as in dirt, that is not clean, that is just not you. When you cut that out, when you cut that off, then you are literally creating the space for the next incarnation of you and of your soul's journey. So let me know if you've got questions. You know, I always love to hear from you, and you are more than welcome to check out my website, trueguidancetarot.com. Last call for New Year's solstice readings. These are special. I designed a special spread. They're a special price. You can find out more in the description below, but last call. They are going away after this week. So I will look forward to seeing you next time on True Guidance Tarot, and have an amazing week.